Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shit Moms Won't Say. You may recognize my guest tonight from, well, literally everywhere. She's been on The Office, she's been on Grey's Anatomy, and she's just sort of all over the goddamn place, this chick. She is also the host of the, I'm sorry, hold on, let me just get the number right. The million plus follower million? I have like 14. Good for you. Good for you. Million plus follower podcast, Motherhood in Hollywood. She's a journalist, Emmy award winning journalist. What? Why are we even having this conversation? Incredible. Mom of one, Heather Brooker. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I should be cooler with that introduction, but I'm not. I'm just a big nerd.
No, I hope you can live up to
it. I'm not. I'm just
You're
a big nerd. I'm a big movie nerd.
Me too. We were talking about, we try to look cooler than we are.
Yes.
You know,
it is. I know in LA, it's sort of like required that you have to be cool. And for a long time, I tried really hard to be like, okay, I'm originally from Oklahoma. So I'm like, I'm not really from Oklahoma. I'm an LA gal. And there's just no way around it. My butt is too big. People know I'm not from here.
They have to do the like shoulders when you're like, I'm an LA girl. Gotta like
an LA gal. Yeah. Nobody buys it. They're like, you're not from LA. You're not from here.
No, I feel like you're too nice. Like, I don't know you, but I follow you and I'm like, she's really nice. Like, she's a nice person.
I try to be, and that is sadly not the norm in LA. There are quite a few nice people out here, but it is not a common element. That's for sure. And not to disparage a whole city, but
I was just going to say not to throw New Yorkers under the bus, but we're not exactly known for like sunshines and rainbows either. So
right. New York is just a whole separate, like, breed of personality and vibe. Like there's just an energy to New York that you either get and you connect with, or you just don't, and you're like, what is happening?
Yeah, I feel like Midwest in New York, it's that you're either like, okay, I like this, or you're like, no, I'm like Minnesota nice and I don't understand it.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, let's jump into the Big Mom 3. So first question, the Big Mom 3, real easy, will not be a curveball. Did you always know you wanted to be a mom?
I love this question because I feel like if I'm being completely honest, and of course I want to be, the answer is no. For many, many years, my husband and I didn't think we were going to have kids. It just didn't seem like something that fit into our lives. It didn't seem like something that we would be good at. We were both nervous and like the idea of it seemed very overwhelming. We were also both poor. We were both broke, and everything we had heard is like, oh, babies are so expensive, you'll never be able to afford it, and and we already struggled to make rent, and it was like, how are we going to do this? And so honestly, we were married for about 10 years before we realized, like, you know what, we have a lot of love to give in our lives, and we want to give that love to a child, and we were ready. And it just, I can't really describe it other than it was just a feeling we had in our hearts and in our gut that we were like, listen. And I was an older mom. I got pregnant when I was 35. I had my daughter when I was 35. So I was advanced maternal age.
They call it geriatric.
Geriatric, yes. Yeah. I was the old granny mom. But I was like, listen, if we're gonna do this, we gotta commit to it and do it now. Otherwise, I may miss my window. And the absolute worst situation would be if we couldn't have kids, and then I would live with some regret, and I didn't want to do that. So we started trying, and it took us a few years. So I'm glad that we made that decision when we did. But no, it was definitely not something that I wasn't one of those kids. It was like, I want to grow up and be a mom. Like, that's my life's goal. It was not for me. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's your life goal or whoever's life goal, that just wasn't what I had wanted. I've always been very career driven, very focused on my goals personally and professionally, and all of that. So.
And I feel like that's hard. Like, I feel like a lot of, and it's sort of shitty, like, I feel like a lot of career-driven women feel like they have to pick, like they can't, the two can't be married, and it's just not true. Like, does it make it a little bit harder if you're pursuing goals and dreams and things? Sure. Like, then you have this little person along for the ride though. Like, part of it which is cool. I didn't realize that until I was older. So I think that's a cool answer. And how old is your daughter?
She's 8. She's 8. And I love that you said that they're sort of along for the ride, because everything that I've done since I became a mom was to bring her into my world. I didn't stop my world and build it around her. I brought her into my world, and that's also why I created Motherhood in Hollywood, this podcast and this website and this sort of, community, is because in the entertainment industry, there isn't an office we go to every day, a 9 to 5, where we can sit and swap stories with each other, where we can commiserate and connect. There isn't that. It's a very freelance lifestyle. You're on your own all the time. And unless you have other friends who have kids, which I didn't at the time, you had no one to really connect with. So it was very lonely the first few years I had my daughter, and I was always signing up for like mommy and me classes and like everything I could to go and meet other moms and connect with other moms, to be like, how are you doing?
Help me.
But specifically, it was hard to find other moms who are actors and who are performers, because it's a different kind of lifestyle. Like sometimes at the drop of a hat, I'll get a notice for an audition and I would have to drop everything and drive across town. And that's really hard when you have a 6-week-old or, a 1-year-old or whatever. That's a really hard thing to navigate. And so I really started to kind of find and seek out people who were in my same situation and glean what I could from them and what their experiences were. How are they navigating this world? How can we help each other? And that's sort of how Motherhood in Hollywood was born.
So cool. Because then
you didn't ask me that, but I just threw that.
You know what? I was gonna, and now I don't have to. You scared me like maybe like an 8-word sentence, and now I don't even have to say it because you did it for me.
Okay.
Because you're like a professional podcaster, and I'm like, under a year into it, and you're like, no, this is how you just say it. You just spit it out.
No.
That was good. That was a good hey, here's what I do.
I'm a big fan of people who are starting their podcast, because this has been the most empowering thing that I have ever done, was start this podcast. And it's given me a platform to talk about what I want, to reach out to other people, to network with other people. Like you and I wouldn't be talking right now if I hadn't started this and you hadn't started your show. And what's great about it when you do it independently is it's your own thing. You don't owe anybody anything. You don't have to have on certain guests, and you don't have to say certain things. Like you can say whatever you want, and there's something very empowering about that. You can produce as many episodes as you want, or as few, or whatever. So when
you navigate it in your own way, and like, do you want it to be your full-time thing? Is this what you do? And like, I've been in sales and marketing my whole career, so for me, like, this was actually sort of an easy choice. My wife and I are both theater people. Who out of college, I decided I don't want to act professionally because, like you're saying, it's really hard. And I was lazy. I didn't want to go into the city for Broadway auditions. I started and I was like, oh, I fucking hate this. I hate this. So instead I was like, you know what? I can perform regionally when I want to. And I do, like last month, and at Cats Out of the Bag, we're filming this even before it starts. But when this airs, the Queer Voices Project will have already aired on Shit Moms Won't Say, which is, it's gonna be this really incredible, like, partnership with the It Gets Better Project and these amazing voices and things. And I'm able to do these things in addition to having my career. Yep. But this, you're right, it's incredibly empowering to be in a position where you can say what you want, when you want it, connect with the types of people you value. And that's not something everybody gets. It's like it's a very humbling thing to say, like, oh, I'm in 100% control of this.
Yep.
And then like see what you want to do with it. So yeah, I think it's really cool. And I love how you used yours, and I'm loving how I'm using mine. So I think that's really
great.
Wonderful.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome.
It's fun. So okay, this is gonna be a fun question. And I look forward to your answer, because I feel like Midwesterners are very nice. And I know you're an LA girl.
Yes. LA girl.
I want you to take out like the LA on this one though. So what is the shittiest or most backhanded piece of advice or comment you've ever gotten from another mother or parent?
Well, I have to say, out here, I know you said take out the LA-ness of it, but out here in LA, which is where I'm raising my daughter, the big thing that people seem to gravitate towards and talk about a lot, at least when my daughter was really young, is breastfeeding.
Mm.
And if you weren't 100% breastfeeding your child, you were somehow failing or looked down upon. And I went to a place here in LA that had like a mommy and me type program or whatever. And their main focus was getting moms to breastfeed. And I breastfed Channing, but I also bottle fed her because when she was born, she wouldn't latch properly and was losing weight. We were in the hospital for a couple of days and she was losing just like a few ounces a day, which when you're a newborn is a lot. So I was like, we got to feed her. Give me a bottle, give me formula. I don't care. I want my baby to live. Like, and that ultimately should be our goal and what we're telling new moms, because the stress that you feel emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it is running through your body. And the last thing you want to add to that is being worried that your child is hungry, when there is an alternative there. And we just don't tell moms. So I was told a lot like, well, you really shouldn't use formula unless you have to. And for me, I was like, no, I also was an older mom, as we discussed, geriatric.
Sure.
And I had enough confidence in myself to be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to feed my baby. And I think that sometimes people don't have that confidence. They don't have that strength to go, no, I'm not going to be shamed if I can't breastfeed properly. I'm going to feed my kid. And so that was really that was probably the worst advice that I've had. I take every advice, just like when I got married, somebody said, take all advice with a grain of salt. And I did that when I became a mom too. So you kind of take it a little bit and you go, if that works for me, great. If that works for you, also great, but sometimes what's for you may not be good for me, and that's okay.
No, it's the whole, like exactly what works for you, and like fed is best. It doesn't matter, and I think you're right. Like coming at motherhood from a little bit older, like like no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
It's different than like a 20-something-year-old getting pregnant and getting married and getting pregnant, and it's all like the hubbub and the excitement, and that's great. They go into it a little bit less aware of being like,
yeah,
I'm not doing that. I don't care. I'm not doing that. Yeah. Interesting.
I think about that. I would be a totally different mom if I had my daughter when I was 25 versus 35. I was, even though I thought I was super mature and I knew everything, I didn't. I was a big dummy. I was just a big dummy that was like traveling all over the world, thinking I could do anything, feeling invincible, very arrogant. Man, I was a butthole when I was in my 20s.
All 25-year-olds are
right?
mostly buttholes. Like I think that people, like one of my favorite things in life that happened is like somewhere around 30. I think when you get the 3 in front of your number, then I heard it gets even better for you. So I'm going to be 36. Like somewhere around 30, I was just like, wow, I don't care.
Yeah,
something shifts. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just don't give a shit anymore. And I think until you have that 3 in front of your like age, you still kind of care.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not everyone. That's like a sweeping statement, but I think for the most part, like 20-something struggle with that in a way that 30 plus do not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. You're still kind of maturing and growing, I feel like. I mean, and if I'm being honest, I'm still I'm in my 40s now, and I'm still growing and learning. And there are certainly things I can mature about as well. But I'm just learning to let things go a lot more. Like I not care so much, depending on the situation. So yeah, I definitely would have been a different mom in my 20s than my 30s. That's for sure.
I'm a much smaller butthole at 35 than I was at 25.
Smaller butthole. I love that.
I'm a smaller, but I'm still a butthole, but I'm a smaller butthole. It's a tighter butthole is where I am now. And you're an even tighter butthole.
I love that. I know. I'm basically just a raisin at this point.
And how's that for mature mom shit? Okay. Question number 3 is Big Mom 3. What is a skill or superpower that you had before becoming a mom that you think has really helped you as a mom?
I think, and this is where I get to brag about myself, and I kind of love doing that.
And you should pat yourself on the back the whole time.
The whole time. I find that I'm pretty even keeled when it comes to keeping my emotions in check, which I find has been incredibly invaluable because I have a deeply emotional child. She
Wow.
has the biggest feelings. And when she first was born, those feelings came out and they have not stopped. She
What's her sign out of sheer curiosity?
she's an Aries.
Okay.
She's an Aries, like my husband. I have two
Okay.
Aries and a Scorpio in the house. So it
My,
gets
my daughter's a Scorpio, so okay.
Oh yeah, look out. But no, I feel like I'm not as reactive to when she has an emotional outburst. It doesn't happen as much now, like when she was a toddler or whatever.
Yeah.
But I find that I am cool under pressure, so I can let her process those feelings, be a sounding board, hug her, hold her, whatever she needs, especially when she was little, to get those feelings out. Now it's more like it's her sensitive heart. It's not like a tantrum like when she was a baby, but it's more like somebody hurt her feelings and she want, she might cry or something. But when she was little and during the terrible twos and the threes or whatever, the tantrums were real. And I never knew that I had this skill. I never knew that I was a patient person until this started happening. And I realized I wanted to just be there in those moments for her, be a rock, be a cushiony rock, I should say, that she could lean into and let those feelings out and let herself process them, instead of me yelling at her or reacting to her or sending her to a room or doing a timeout or whatever. I always, kind of rolled my eyes at the parents who were like, now listen, little Timmy, we're going to, we're going to do this. And then I found myself going, no, wait a minute, there is some value to that, and in pausing your reaction to their emotions. And one of the biggest things that helped me was I read this book called The Whole Brain Child. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it talks about and it walks you through the stages of development of your child's brain. And once you realize like what they're doing and what they're growing through and what they're going and growing through, their synapses and their actual brain has not been fully formed and hardwired yet at 2 and 3 and 4 years old. And that's why they have these outbursts and these emotions, because they can't process their feelings. They can't verbalize their feelings yet. They don't understand what's happening in their body. So I feel like my superpower then would be my patience, just learning to be patient and be there for her to as a support rather than being reactive, if that makes any sense.
Oh my God, that totally makes sense. It's a great answer. And I think like parents forget, like my wife is a much more sensitive individual than I am. And that's not to say I'm like some insensitive asshole. I'm not.
I'm the same way. No,
I'm not. I'm very like black and white. Like, oh, my feelings are hurt. Okay. Like I'm not that way. My wife is like this very emotional being. And we had to talk a lot before we had our daughter. Like, how do we parent in that way?
Yeah. Do you find that it's a yin and yang? Do you find that you guys play off each other well with those types of personalities?
She'll probably be so mad at me for saying this. I think that, it's funny. I think that my like natural tendency towards like reason and logic and sort of putting emotion aside sometimes serves even a little bit better, because my wife Katie she's like the most loving human being on the planet, and she can give you like a hug of all hugs, and I can sit down and say like, hey, why are we upset right now? Like what happened? My daughter's young, she's only 1.5 years, so I mean she doesn't have the language, and that's so frustrating. It's there's that great platform, it's Big Little Feelings. And it like what terminology, it's true, like these little people have these huge feelings, and like I have to remind myself, like when my daughter Lily is having a tantrum, and she's a wonderful baby, but like they have them, it's not stupid to her.
Right.
And that's a hard thing for like, especially like if you're saying we have a similar type of thing, like you're very black and white, it's like, I'm not overly emotional. Like I have to remind myself, like this outburst is not because my daughter is being an asshole.
Right.
This outburst, like you're saying, it's not formed. It's not there yet. They don't have the words. That's really tough.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's just learning that about myself was surprising even to me. Like I didn't know that I would be that sort of a parent. I'm very black and white like that too. I'm sort of, reserved emotionally, even though I have I have a big personality, but I am more reserved emotionally. My husband, he's the big crier. He's probably crying right now.
Are you, do you,
No, I'm
cry,
just
like,
kidding.
are you a big crier?
Listen, not really.
Me neither.
I'll get caught off guard sometimes with something, and I'll be like, oh my
Why
god,
am I crying? It's not even
oh
that
my
sad.
god.
And then you
Yeah,
can't stop.
what are these
Yeah.
things inside my body that are making me
Feelings,
cry?
they hurt.
Feelings. Ugh.
And then it
Yeah,
makes you
no,
cry
that's
harder because you're like, oh,
yes.
these feelings are horrible.
And then
horrible.
you're trying to fight it, and you're like, ugh. Yes, no, I definitely have those moments where it'll sneak up on me and catch me off guard. But for the most part, I'm very reserved in that way. But my dog, and then Luna, get out of here. And then my husband is very sweet and very tenderhearted. And he is we play off of each other we balance each other really well, but that's a part of myself that I didn't realize I had. It would be useful in those moments with her is to just sit and listen and hold her and be there for her. Now that's not to say every single time that I did that. There were certainly times when I was like, oh my god, not now, like get it together, but that's definitely a tool that I have that I didn't know I had.
I love it. It's like the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. That's a surprise tool that'll help you later.
Yes. The Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. We used to watch that all the time.
Yeah, we're watching it a lot now.
I bet.
Well, yeah, and she's like between all different things, and every now and then we'll get me. And we're like, really? Like, you want Mickey Mouse Clubhouse? Yeah. Oh, okay. And then it's like hours of like all these like.
We watched a lot of Daniel Tiger.
Oh god, yeah. She has a full, my best friend, her godfather, for her first birthday got her like a big Daniel Tiger trolley.
Oh wow.
It's great. It's so big. And like thankfully it folds up and we can like hide it behind the couch, but every now and then she'll like perseverate on it and be like 10 10 10 10 10 10 10 10 10 and like then my whole den is just this
giant trolley.
Yeah, the trolley. It's okay. It could be worse. It could be worse. Yeah, she could be like a Paw Patrol kid and she's not. So we're okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
So let's talk about, we touched on it briefly. We joke that you're everywhere. You sort of do a little bit of everything. Like you literally do though. Like you are an Emmy award-winning journalist. So it's pretty cool. You're a reporter. I love that you're not like, oh no, like, yeah, that's really freaking cool. Good for you. It's amazing. Like you act, you have a podcast, like you're just like you're sort of like the truest definition of a personality, right? Like,
never thought about that.
It's true. Like what is Heather Brooker do? Like she's sort of just like this personality. She's like a media personality. And like having a daughter, and this is sort of like a multi-part question, so bear with me. Like I'm curious of a couple of things. So first of all, very simple question. How can you possibly manage to do all of these things? And I think I know the answer because you kind of fit your kid into your life, and I get that. How do you continue to grow yourself as an artist, as a personality, and still be present as a parent? And then sort of part two of that, how do you help navigate your daughter, living in LA, growing up in this environment, and just, LA in a similar fashion to New York is really odd. It's an odd place to like grow up, and to have a mom in the media and in sort of the public eye. How does that work for her? And is she even like cognizant of it?
Well, to answer the first part of that, there are, thank you, by the way, for all the kind words. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. And sometimes, my husband even has to remind me, because I will get like down about something and be like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. And he's like, but you've done so much, and I'm like, it's never enough.
It's not where I should be yet. It's not where I'm less than a year old in this. And I'm always like, it's not famous. And my wife's like, you have been around for 8 months, you psychopath. Look at what you're doing. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, it's not enough.
It's not enough. And that's just that personality, those people who are just like driven, in that way. So my husband constantly has to remind me, like, you have accomplished a lot. You should be proud of that. Incredible. So I try to take a moment whenever I hear that and say, wow, that's great. I am proud of that. I have worked hard, and there's nothing wrong with taking a moment to appreciate somebody complimenting your accomplishments. So if anybody takes anything from this interview, be proud of what you've accomplished, and let somebody say good job, and take that in. You don't have to like wear it all the time and be like, I'm amazing, or you do, whatever, but but allow yourself to feel that pride for what you've accomplished. So I don't feel like I do it all, because I feel like everything is sort of in a rotation throughout my day and throughout my week. And what I mean is, so I'm an entertainment reporter for NBC here in Los Angeles and NBC national digital platforms. That is not a full-time job, although sometimes it certainly feels like it because it takes up a lot of my time. That is my part-time job. And I have to really work at balancing my schedule with that, with the business side of motherhood in Hollywood and the content creation and stuff that I do for any ads or business deals or anything like that. I have to stay on top of my calendar and my emails, because I'm a one-woman show. I don't have an assistant. I don't have a virtual assistant. I also edit my own podcast and, do my own bookings and all of that stuff. Because of that, a lot of times the creative side of what I do doesn't get enough attention, especially in the last 4 years since I started becoming an entertainer, since I started this job as an entertainment host and reporter. I haven't felt like as creative as an actor. Like I don't take acting classes anymore. I just don't have time. So things sort of shift and rotate and take a back seat, depending on what is in front of me and what my priorities are given that week. For example, here is today was a pretty typical day of what I do. So I got up this morning, got my coffee. I sat down. I had an interview with Moby. I don't know
if
you're
familiar with
Moby.
Like Southside? Okay.
Yes. A musician. So I had this exclusive interview with him that I've been planning for weeks. He's got a documentary and a new album coming out. I was very excited to talk with him. So I sat down, did an interview with him. As soon as that was over, I had to come in and start returning a bunch of emails. I had to write a couple articles. I had to start some editing. And then I had another interview to go back to with Lisa Vanderpump of the Vanderpump.
Oh God, I love her so much.
She's so lovely. She's so lovely.
Lisa Vanderpump, of course, come on my show. What's wrong?
Right?
Why won't you? God,
so of course
other housewives.
I know. So of course that interview was delayed. They were running late, so that delays me. So as soon as that was done, then I had an audition. So I had to work on my script really quickly, set it up, film my audition, and then I came in here to do this interview. This is a typical day in my life where I'm running from thing to thing, and it feels like sometimes things fall through the crack. Like I have to make sure I schedule time and make time to hang out with my daughter, because I'm a workaholic. If I could, I would work all the time, but that is not nearly as fulfilling as spending a couple hours with my daughter in the backyard, or even just a 10-minute break while she's having her lunch or something. Having her home this past year and a half because of COVID has actually been really wonderful for me, because I get to see her more. And we get to go on walks with the dog in the middle of the day. And, and it's like, those are things that I don't normally get to do when she's in school from 8 to 3 or whatever. So there are definitely things in my life that are give and take and sort of on a rotating basis. So my acting career doesn't get as much love these days because my job and my TV hosting and all of that stuff is getting a lot of the attention. And so is my content creation on my social media platforms. Those are what is getting the most attention. And then of course my family. So it's all kind of a rotating process. And I'm amazed sometimes that I get anything done. I'm always like, whoa, I finished something. What's next? And then as far as my daughter goes, and this is something my husband and I have been talking a lot about lately too, is living in LA and as a parent is very different, is wildly different than, New Yorkers can probably, sympathize here, but it's not like we have a neighborhood where she can hang out with other kids. She can't ride her bike in the street. Like we have to be with her because we have so many cars that race down our street. Just like from a safety perspective, it's a different environment. There's a different culture with other parents. There's a lot of people who are like, so who are you? What do you do? How can you help me? Oh, you work for NBC. Oh, well, I'm going to send something your way, whatever. And it's like, wait, do you want to be my friend or and when my daughter, or do you want something from me? There's very much this feeling of, oh, you're not famous. Oh, you're not on a TV show. You're not in a movie. Oh, okay. I mean, they'll still be nice to you, but, and then the bigger picture
That's
too
me.
is I'm also a plus size lady in LA. You know, I am definitely heavy set compared to all my friends. And I feel that, you know, very strongly in my social circles too. I don't get invited to a lot of things. Nobody invites me to pool parties. Nobody invites me to beach days. It's weird. They would never admit that, but like you can
Gross.
feel it. I'm not new. I can tell what's going on. So it's,
Ew.
yeah. So there's those types
Oh.
of mindsets and those types of values that I have to we work really hard and with our daughter to make sure that she doesn't see the world through the eyes of your typical LA person. Like
Yeah.
people are more than what they can do for you. People are more than just how they look on the outside. And those are parenting priorities that we are taking with her because we want her to value people more than just what you see on the surface.
That's
Does that
awesome.
make sense?
That
Yeah.
totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so listen, we have a couple things left. We're gonna play a rapid fire game. It's
Oh
really
boy.
easy, real
Okay.
rapid fire. So it's gonna be really simple. And then we'll start to wrap it up. But
Okay.
before we do that, it's a 4-question game. And I literally want you to just say the first person that comes to your head.
Okay.
They're all nice answers. So I'm not like, who's the biggest bitch you ever talked to? Like, I'm not doing that to you. I have done
Okay.
that to another human being. Actually, she'll appreciate it. So Elise Lane, who was on The Real Housewives of New York, wonderful human being. I made her play like a housewives game with me. And I was like, and who's the worst mother? And she was like, come on. And she was like, I'll tell you offline. And she did.
Okay, good.
But I won't do that to you. I'll keep it nice. So
Okay.
I'm just, again, first one that comes to your head. And I have it written down, so I'm going to read my own notes here, and you'll see there's some housewives on the back of my book too. So,
Okay.
Oh, look, and Michael Scott. There you go.
Nice.
There you go. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Best mom you've ever interviewed.
Best mom. It would have to be, it's a toss up between Casey Stroh, who I just interviewed from High School Musical, and Katrina Law from Hawaii Five-0. They, I mean, listen, all of the women that I've interviewed have been truly lovely and have been so kind enough to open up to me on my show, and like just, you know, that in itself is a win. But there are people who I've interviewed where I feel like, oh man, we're going to be friends for life. You know, like I really love this person, their energy. And Casey Stroh, who I interviewed just recently, she's a fellow plus size mom like me. She's so talented, like just incredibly talented dancer and singer and everything, you know, that I would love to be in terms of like talent. And she was just lovely. And then Katrina Law, hugely famous star. It was one of my biggest episodes. Just was really open and funny and kind. And she was a new mom when I talked to her. And but yeah, so many moms, honestly. But those are the two that came to mind right away.
Okay. Yeah. Who is the mom that closest aligns to your parents' parenting style?
Man, there's probably quite a few. Let me think. You know, I love Melanie Paxson. Melanie Paxson is, she was on The Descendants. You would recognize her right away. Mm-hmm. She's been in a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. But I also really love Jo Frost, the super nanny.
Oh, yeah, of course.
She was on my show, and to be honest, like her parenting style, her advice style, everything she does, I love that she pulls no punches with the parents. And tells them like it is. I think a lot of parents don't want to hear about things they're doing that could be contributing to their child's bad behavior or to any bad behavior in the home. A lot of parents don't want to hear that. They think it's all just the kids. And I don't think that is the case a lot of times. And that's something Jo really talks about a lot, and that resonates with me. So I think she and I are definitely a lot aligned in that way. And she's also just like a really cool person, and so am I. So
yeah, well, we both call people on their shit, so that's a nice quality too.
And that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay, mom or parent, doesn't matter, whoever it is. But I think moms for this show, whoever comes to your head though, I don't care.
Sure.
Mom who surprised you the most.
Surprise me, like in terms of
Like maybe you thought you were gonna have an interview with this person, you're like, oh God, I just don't see us getting a lot. Like I just don't see this being like a connection. And you were like, holy shit, like we're really like, I'm surprised that like you're a great mom. I connect with you. Who surprised you?
well, I have to say, Tammin Sursok from Big Little Lies.
Okay.
I don't know, or maybe it's Pretty Little Lies, not Big Little Lies.
Oh,
Pretty Little Lies.
Pretty Lies.
Pretty Little Liars. Tammin is this beautiful vixen, Aussie girl who just looks like she would be, she played kind of a bitch in her role on a TV. And I wasn't sure how she would react to me because, like I said, I'm a big gal. I get treated differently in a lot of situations by the beautiful, rich, and famous people. And Tammin was freaking amazing. She's so funny. She's so funny, and she's so like, what you see is what you get. She's genuinely a goofball. She loves her girls. She loves her kids. And she was just really open and honest and real about her life. She also used to be plus size and had an eating disorder, and she's very open about her struggles with that. So I loved her, and I loved talking with her. And she and I are friends in real life. We don't get to see each other very often, especially now because of the cove, because of the pandemic.
Real COVID.
But I love her to death. She's so funny and so talented, and just really just a nice person.
I love it. Okay, last one.
Okay.
Who is the parent who you least align with from a parenting style, but you can have a very respectful conversation with about it?
Oh, that's a tough one because nobody comes to mind where I haven't really aligned with their parenting style. There was someone, I want to look back and see if I can remember. Let me look at my podcast list really quick because I know that there was somebody, and I'm like, who would be good for this answer? Oh, maybe I can find them and maybe I can't.
And listen, the fact that there are basically no answers that pop to your head.
I mean, honestly, yeah, there's no one. I would have to do like a deep dive into
and don't. I think it
my
speaks
show.
to like the credibility and like the legitimacy of the people that you have on your show, because you're not picking people that you don't align with. It was almost like a trick question.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I think that's really it. I mean, I've gone back through, and I usually somebody would pop out in my mind, but it's very seldom that I've interviewed somebody who I'm like, oh, that's a weird choice. And if I did, I would be like, hey, that's weird, but whatever. To be honest, no, there's nobody that comes to mind where I'm like, ooh, we don't align, in any way.
Again, I think it speaks to like what you're doing and like the type of people you like vet to bring into your life and on your show. And I think that's really cool.
I hope so. Yeah.
Let's go. We'll go with that.
Let's go with that.
We'll go with that. Okay. Last two questions. We're wrapping it up. So first question of the wrap up, very simple. You have a daughter, 8 years old. That's why I like to ask this different degrees of age from parents. What is one thing you cannot live without as a parent?
Well, my phone. But that's the lamest answer ever, but like my phone is where I do 90% of my work. But something that's like parent related,
doesn't have to be. Your phone's a viable answer.
My phone for sure, but I mean, to be honest, we watch a lot of television in our family, TV, movies, television shows. All of that stuff is such a big part of what I do, that we watch television together as a family. We have movie nights. We'll find a new series we can watch together. And it becomes like not just like a distraction, or we don't use it as a babysitter. It's a part of our family and our bonding, because we, over the pandemic, when COVID started, we started introducing her to the Harry Potter movies. Oh, loved it. We were afraid she was a little too young because she was 7, she was 6 when it started, and then she was 7. But she loved it, loves the movie, couldn't wait to find out what house she was in, and it became this like
cool.
bonding thing for our family to be like, what houses are we in? What is our Patronus? Whatever. And we totally got into that. She's also super into the Avengers movies. We will all have like full-on discussions about like what happens, if Hulk and Thor ever do get in a fight again, like who would really win, or whatever. Like we get into
That's
these
cool.
like deep conversations about stuff like that. So for us, the television is a not just like a babysitter, but it is a part of our family, and it adds to our life in a special way.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, it's kind of weird and
You
random,
seem
but
like hesitant to say it. That's a really good answer.
Because I feel like people see the TV as something they just sit mindlessly in front of, which we do too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
But like
do that after this for sure, 100%.
But for us, it's also just like a jumping off point for conversations and for family bonding in our house. So yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and especially this past year, there wasn't that much going on.
Right.
You needed some entertainment. I think it's a great answer. Okay, final question.
All right.
What is something you know now that you wish you knew before becoming a mom?
I think I wish I had known that I don't know. I was going to say, I wish I had known like how great it was going to be, but then that would have ruined the surprise for me. Like, it's been such a wonderful journey to be like, God, I love this.
How would you have believed it? Like, would you have?
I would not have believed it.
Process that.
I mean, how many times do people say to you, "Oh, just wait till you have a kid of your own. It's different," and you'd be like, "Okay, whatever."
It was my favorite sentence until I started saying the sentence, and now it's a great sentence.
Yeah, like how many times did you hear that when people are like, "Oh, just wait till you have your own kids." It's different when you have your own kids. When you're a parent, yeah. And then it happens, and you're like, "Holy crap, this is amazing." Yes. So I think it's something that I wish that I had known beforehand would be that she would not be in diapers forever. That potty training was going to be challenging, but it would not last forever. Because honestly, one of the hardest challenges for me was the potty training a toddler period. And it was very stressful because my husband was working full-time. I was a full-time mom at home, and it was just me and her every day. And I would just be begging with her, like, please poop on the potty, and I just had to keep saying to myself, like, this is not going to last forever. She's not going to go to college with diapers on. Like, she's going to eventually learn about the potty. But that was such a hard time. That was such a hard time for me to go through. And I wish that I had had a little bit of that understanding beforehand, but baptism by fire, we survived.
We did it. And thank you. We did it. You and I. Look at this fun episode. Yay. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people follow you? Because you should follow her. She's hysterical. She's real. Like you present all of your emotions, and that's like a really cool thing to see, is it's not just like a one facet person. So
yeah, we're not about the overly curated, highly filtered life. I try to have a mix of the pretty pictures and the fun moments. So I would love it if everybody follows along. My Instagram and Facebook is the Heather Brooker, and on Twitter it's Heather Brooker. And then I have a podcast and website at motherhoodinhollywood.com. So if you guys want to follow along over there, my episodes are few and far between these days. That's another one of those things that kind of gets put on the back burner right now, but it's still fun when we do them.
I love it. And we'll, of course, tag it out so everybody can find it.
Yeah, I would love that.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for tuning into Shit Moms Won't Say. We'll see you next week.